Hi, this is our second video on dockets and filings. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple of hints on Bloomberg Law, on Westlaw Next, and on Lexis Advanced. In the last video, I mentioned PACER as a source that you might see when you're working in a law firm. It's not something that we use as academics. The source that we use similarly for finding federal dockets and underlying filings is Bloomberg Law. I'm going to actually be talking about retrieving state documents. I want you to see what's available on Bloomberg Law. And the third video that you have assigned on dockets is a short video by Bloomberg Law that will go into more detail on pulling filings with an example of a federal filing on Bloomberg Law. So for state materials, I want to show you what you might expect for coverage in the various states. So what you can do here is, this is going to be similar to when you actually pull a docket, but we've talked before about these tabs and how to use them to navigate. We're going to click Litigation and Dockets. And then instead of Search Dockets, which is where you'll go to actually run a search, I want you to take a look at the docket coverage map. And for jurisdiction, pick Massachusetts. And you can see this gives us a sense of what's available both in the federal courts and in the state courts in Massachusetts. And when it says coverage types fully electronic, we're going to be getting, as I mentioned earlier, for the federal courts, we're going to have access to those underlying filings as well as the dockets. And you can see the dates of coverage. They go back for a while for the federal courts. Then if you look at the state courts, you'll see it's different. It says dockets only electronic coverage. That means that we're only going to get the docket. We're not going to get the underlying filings unless the filings have already been retrieved from the court. And you can also look at this. You can see that the coverage dates don't go back as far for the state, at least in Massachusetts. Okay, so I just wanted you to notice that difference in coverage between the federal materials and the state materials. And now let's just run a quick search to look for a state docket. So I'm going to click Search Docket, and I'm going to limit by court and browse to Massachusetts state courts. And as you know from other searches, when we click on it, it adds to the search. And then I'm going to scroll down, and instead of using keyword or docket number, oftentimes what you have when you're looking for docket filings or information about a case might be, for example, the party name. So I'm going to put in, say I know one of the party names, Forward Financing. I'm looking for any litigation this company is involved in the state courts. I'm going to add it here to the party, single party entry. If I had more than one party, I would use multiple party entry. And I just click search. And I want you to look at this as an example of what you might see at the state level on Bloomberg Law. So it's forward financing. It's a case that's in the Mass Superior Court. It's a fairly recent case. And this is a fairly recent case, January 30th, 2016. But if I wanted to see if there was any more recent material that had been filed, I would click on this link here, Update Docket. And then sometimes you'll get a little collection notice. Don't worry about that on Bloomberg Law for students. There's no way for you to incur a fee. Even if it's something that would incur a fee, you won't be able to do it, basically. But here you can see it's saying that they're going to update it electronically and there's not going to be a fee. So I click Accept. And later it'll take a minute, maybe not quite a minute, and this document will be updated. Oh, it's telling me already the docket's not changed. But what I wanted to really show you is if you scroll down to where the docket, so this is telling you some information about what happened in the calendar and the docket, but this is showing you the docket entries down here. And basically, I can see from looking at these entries that they've already manually collected the complaint. So I'm going to be able to click in and actually see the complaint, which is great. But the other materials that are in the docket, things that if, for example, I was looking at a federal case, a lot of times I can just click on these and get them right away electronically. I'd actually have to request a courier to be sent to go get these documents if I wanted to look at them. So I'm not going to do that, but I did want to show you the manually collected complaint here. And as we talked about, the reason you'd pull these is either for competitive intelligence reasons, or perhaps you'd want to look at them as an example to if you were filing something similar in a case that you were working on and didn't have a good example. Okay. So that was just a little bit on Bloomberg Law. As I said, you're going to have more in a separate video that I've assigned. So let's take a quick look at Westlaw Next. On Westlaw Next, we can look for state dockets. The same way we've looked for a lot of the state material, we can go into State Materials, Massachusetts. And in addition to the materials that you are looking at, or concentrating on, I should say, before in the first few weeks, and one of you put this in our large group wiki when we were looking at mass resources, but over here on the right, there's some extra tools. And the one that we're going to look at is Massachusetts dockets. And I'm going to look in all state and federal materials, and I'm going to click Advanced Search so we get those advanced search options. And similar to Bloomberg Law, when I'm in the advanced search options, I can easily put in a party name or a docket number. I can also look by judge or attorney name, so if I'm doing competitive intelligence, those are good options. So in this case, I want to be searching for dockets that have to do with the Gillette company. So I'm going to put Gillette in my participant name and run that search. So the reason that I did it in both state and federal is I just want to show you what state and federal dockets look like on Westlaw. So here's one. This is a federal district court case. Let's click into this one, Adore versus Gillette. And again, you're getting told how current the docket is, and like on Bloomberg Law, if you want to update it, you need to click the Update button. We'll just scroll down here. So this is a list of the docket proceedings. And then over on the right, there'll be some option to view different things that have happened in this case. So sometimes we can use this view button and we can see material, but because of our academic subscription, sometimes we're not able to view these. The filings that we are able to view, or definitely are able to view, would be the ones up at the top that it says filings 13. So just if that happens to you, if you click on one and you're not allowed to view it, there may be other things that you can view over here under filings. Okay, so you can see for federal material, a lot of the filings are going to be available to us on Westlaw. Now let's look at a state case. We'll just go back to that results list. And we're going to look at this one because it's in the Mass Suffolk Superior Court, just to give you an example. And here again, if I want to update this case, I'm going to click Update. And sometimes it takes a while, so you can minimize and keep looking as you go. And you'll see that, again, just like when we were looking at the information on Bloomberg Law, we can see the calendar information, we can see some of the docket entries, but there's just not a lot that we're going to be able to download. So we can get the status of the case by looking at the docket, but we can't really look at the underlying filings. One final tip I have for you on Westlaw is that a lot of times you're already in a case. So if a case has already been decided, you're in the case. Let's just pull one up here. So again, I just picked one, a Gillette Company case that's already been decided. And across the top, you're probably used to using, for example, the citing references, maybe looking at the history. But there's another tab that has whatever the underlying filings that they've associated with this case are in this tab here under filings. And here you can see we do have available the answer, the complaint, and the dockets. So that's another way that if the case has already been decided, obviously if the case hasn't been decided, this isn't going to work. But another way to look at the dockets and some of the underlying filings in a particular case. Okay, finally I'm going to take you over to Lexis Advanced. So this is the tool that we have for Lexis where we can look at some dockets and filings. Lexis does have another tool which we don't have as academics, but which you might see in practice called CourtLink. If you do see that, you're going to want to use whatever help buttons are available to you or help materials to find out about using that tool. But on Lexis Advanced, we could browse by content area, and we could use the dockets link here. And then for underlying filings, we could look at briefs, pleadings, and motions here. But we've done that just recently, so let's use the search button instead, just as another way to go. And I'm going to limit to the First Circuit, again, our circuit, and Massachusetts. And I'm going to limit category dockets. And I could include here briefs, filing, and motions, so those underlying filings, but I want to do an advanced search. And when I do an advanced search, the fields I get are different, so I don't get responses to both of these. So for now, I'm just going to leave dockets in. And when I do my advanced search, you can see that I get the field litigant. So I can put my party in here, which is Gillette. Sorry, it's called segments on Lexis, not fields. And you can see that I get a list of the different dockets that they have that are responsive to my search parameters. And I'm just going to take a look at this first one. So this is a case that's in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. It's, again, Gillette Company versus Dorco Company. And I can scroll down. Lots of parties in this, so it takes me a little while to scroll down. And I can see all of the proceedings, so the docket, and I can look at the proceedings, but I can't, for example, click on the complaint here. So I can see the dockets when I search in dockets, but there's no clickable links, which makes it sort of hard to use Lexis Advanced right now for dockets and underlying filing research. The sort of way around this is to also, as I mentioned briefly, search in pleadings. So let's just go back. And when we search, let's again limit to the First Circuit into Massachusetts. And when we go into category, we're going to limit to briefs, pleadings, and motions. And I'm going to do my advanced search again. And here, I'm getting, instead of litigant, the field that, segment that I want is title. So that's why it's hard to do an advanced search for both of these things. I could do a keyword search, but then I would get anything that mentions Gillette instead of just the parties, but that's another option. And let's put in Gillette, because I want you to compare with what we just looked at. Let's put in, within the same sentence, Dorco. You can see that even though I couldn't link into any of the filings, I actually do have access to some of the underlying filings on Lexis. It's just that it's the dockets not linking in to the actual underlying filings. Like, for example, here's the answer to the complaint. And this is the same case, 10703, which was the case we were looking at earlier. So that's just a few tips for you on Bloomberg Law, Westlaw, and Lexis. The third video has more details on searching for um, dockets on Bloomberg Law, which again I mentioned, I think that's for us as academics our go-to source for federal materials at least.